Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Life of Growth and Peace. It is I, Coach Gazi, or Jazzy Jazz, as some of you may know me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. I'm gonna get straight to the point. Um, Excuse me. Also, if you see me like rub my cheek, I have a toothache. I have a toothache. So if you can see it, it's still swollen. It's not as bad as it was the other day. The other day it was bad. But it is what it is. So welcome, welcome, have a seat. I'll make this short, sweet, and to the point. I want to talk to you guys about my faith journey. I know I made a previous video about my faith, but there are many levels to faith. So, hey, there's not one story. There are many, many stories. And so I just really been on my heart to just um share my faith or share why my faith is so strong. Like, why do I believe so hard? And it started in 2017, probably 2016. I was going through a lot of stuff. I was in a network marketing business. I was in a relationship. I didn't know where it was going to go. At the time, I was pregnant, and there were a lot of things happening in life. And I remember I just wanted to have my baby, level up in my business, and go to our business convention. I call it OKC because that's where it was. That's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to level up. I wanted to have my baby, level up, and go to OKC. That's all I wanted to do. And I remember maybe a few days after my birthday, I went through a whole process, and I shared this on one of my podcast episodes, but I'll share it again here. Um, my water broke. So we were hanging out, just doing like talking business, hanging, cooking, eating, all of these things. And I thought I peed on myself, but it was like it didn't look like pee, didn't smell like pee, and the water kept coming. But I wasn't bleeding and I wasn't in pain. That was a Thursday. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not bleeding, I'm not in pain. Um, let's just see what happens. And so that Friday, probably the middle part of the day, I started seeing like light pink, and then it started to get more red. So I went to the hospital. I know you're probably like, what does this have to do with faith? It's going to all add up. But I have to give you the foreground for you to understand the depth of my faith. Like, it was more stuff prior to this. Like, we didn't have food really. And then people just kept bringing us food. I had a friend who would always bring the meat, and because a lot of the food that people gave us were like canned goods, we had a lot of those. Like, she would bring the meat, and then I would cook the sides. So that's a legitimate, like, God answer prayers, you know. And I remember one time we were helping a friend of ours with his business, and we went to his hometown, and his auntie just literally just handed me bags and bags of food. She didn't know I didn't have any food at home. She didn't know that we were sharing one can of tomato soup, eating it in the middle of the day so that we can all eat together, and saving what was left for Cheyenne so she could eat. She didn't know that. But this is again why my faith is so strong, right? And so that Friday we go to the hospital, and I'm passing blood clots, and they're like, okay, checking the blood clots to see if I passed the baby in the blood clots. But the baby was not passing the blood clots. We did the ultrasound. Baby's still alive. What happened was the amniotic sac ruptured. It broke, but the baby was still alive. So they were like, they brought me downstairs, and they were like, okay, you can either go upstairs and get an abortion, or we can give you a pill so you can have a miscarriage. And it was one other thing that they said, probably some other type of procedure. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, if I have this baby, I have this baby, but I'm going to let whatever happens happen naturally. And the doctor was like, there's a 1 in a million chance that this will happen, that you'll carry this baby to term, that the baby will live, or whatever, whatever. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. We'll see what happens. And so we go home that Friday, and then Saturday I still feel fine. Never was in any pain. Saturday we go out to eat. We hang out with a friend of ours. We go out to eat, and I always remember because my mouth was water. I wanted buffalo wings so bad, so bad. I wanted the buffalo wings so bad, and I order the wings, and when I get them, they're disgusting. Didn't even want them. Didn't even eat. I didn't even eat the fries. It was like, ugh. And so we get home at the end of the night, and I remember it was like 12 o'clock midnight. Getting ready for bed. Cheyenne's with my mom. And Willie goes, what is that? And I'm like, what is what? And he's like, that. And I look down, and the umbilical cord is hanging. And I was like, ooh. But again, I was never in any pain throughout the whole process. I was never in any pain. Not once was a ouch or discomfort there. And so we call the ambulance. We go back to the hospital, and they do another ultrasound. But I could tell by their reactions that this time that, this is different than it was yesterday, because yesterday, I can't explain it, like the people move differently. And so, all right, I'm like, ugh. And so they come and they tell me like, okay, the baby's not alive, but you still have to deliver, and you still have to go through the process of giving birth. And she inserted a white chalky pill in my cervix so I can activate in labor and push the baby out. So that was like, I'll say like 1 or 2 in the morning. I had him at 5:14 a.m. And it was hard. Like, you give birth to a baby, and the baby feels like it's warm, but then it gets really cold. And my baby didn't have like skin yet. He was like muscle tendon. Like, it was so cool, but it was so creepy. Yeah, so that happened. I had my baby, and I was like, this was 7 days after my birthday. It was something to remember, right? And so that happened. I had him 7 days after my birthday, and then 2 days later, I leveled up in my business. Literally at 11:59 p.m. I got the last sign up that I needed to level up in my network marketing business. Legitimately. Legitimately. And what my friend Daniel, he was so hyped. He was like, Chaz, you just went through this crazy thing. He was so happy. But he wanted me to use my story. He's like, you kept your faith, you kept pushing, like you kept grinding, like you didn't give up. And like through that time, like after it happened, like the 2 days between losing my son and leveling up in my business, I was just seeking guidance from God. I knew he was there because my prayers were being answered. And in losing my son, that's the first time I heard his voice. So I was like, oh, like I heard it. Like I heard it. It sounded like like my heart was talking, like I could hear my heart in my ears, if that makes sense. Like I knew it wasn't me talking to me. It didn't sound like how I talk to myself, you know? And so um that happened. You know, I that's the first time I heard God speak. I will always explain that experience as bittersweet. It was bitter because I lost my son, but it was sweet because that's the first time I heard God. Like that's the first time I decided, okay, how can I live life differently? I've always known that I wanted to live life differently, but how can I live life differently? And so I go through that process. I come home the same day. I let them keep the body. I didn't take the body with me or anything. 2 days later, I level up in my business. All right. So now I have like 6 weeks to level up, get my people under me to level up so I can have enough money to go to our business convention. We live in North Carolina. It's all the way in OKC. We gotta get there. And so I am grinding, right? Phone calls, like business meetings, all these things. Grinding, grinding, grinding. Nothing is happening. I'm helping people. They're elevating. I'm doing the same thing that I'm telling the people to do, and nothing is happening. And so at this point, it's like, what is going on here? I am working my butt off. Okay? Working hard. And nothing's happening. And so I'm like, all right, Lord, how we gonna do this? And I remember, like, I started going to church. I started going to church. We went to church with a neighbor, and just trusting God, like praying and asking that He helps. You know, like I need guidance. I need help. Like, how can I do this? And I will never forget the day I was at church praying, and I'm like, boom. And I said, amen. And a hand was on my shoulder. This woman said, God said, don't worry about it. He got you. Go ahead, take the trip. You're going to go. And I'm like, what? What are you talking? Like, I knew what she was talking about because I was literally praying, Lord, I just want to go to OKC. I just want to go to this business convention. I just want to have fun. Like, I just want to go and be with the people and just experience it. Like, this is all I want to do. Like, this is all I want to do. And literally, as I'm finishing my prayer, there's a hand on my shoulder. So that means He already gave the go-ahead before I even prayed. Before I prayed, I got the go-ahead. Do you hear me? Before I even prayed, I was in prayer. So that means she had to be walking over to me while I'm seeking the Lord for the matter. He had already given her the word. Okay, right. When I tell you that, I'm like, okay, how is this going to happen? So I prepare. I pack my stuff up. I get everything that we need. So now it's time. That I prayed that Sunday. We was leaving in 2 days, right? All right, bet. I'm like, okay. So I pack up everything. Pack some food because we had food now, right? So I pack up some food and I'm like, all right, bet. In our hotel, you know, hopefully somebody has a stove. Like the hotel, I knew the hotel that we were going to stay in had like a kitchenette. So I packed food so we can cook because knew I didn't have the finances to be able to pay, right? So the night comes, right? Daniel come, he got like 4 people in the van with him. It's 4 people at my house waiting to get in the van. Well, it's 2 people at my house and then 2 other people in my town that are going with us, right? We're all going. So he stopped at my house first. I'm like, we're not done yet. Here, take the food, put the food in the car. He like, bet. Then he go get the other 2 people. Come back, get us. We got everything we need. We drive to OKC. There are 8 people. There are 8 people in this van. And 4 people cannot drive. if you knew me in my early days, I couldn't really drive like that, but I had my license. And my biggest fear in driving was always driving at night in 18-wheelers, right? It's my turn to drive. I think we're in like Tennessee, and we're driving on the road at night with 18-wheelers, and then it starts to rain. So I'm like, Lord, so all I can say is like, God got me. God got me. God got me. That's all I'm saying. I'm like clutching the steering wheel, clutching the steering wheel, saying, God got me. God got me. God got me. So here I am, hands gripping the steering wheel, right? It is raining. We are driving through some interstate that is under construction. There are a lot of 18-wheelers driving past, and I'm just like, God got me. God got me. God got me. That's all I could say. So we get all the way from North Carolina to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I didn't have any gas money to put in the gas tank on the way there. Just put that out there, right? So we get there and we register for the event, and we go to the hotel room, right? And we get handed a key. Okay. I get handed a key to the hotel room. I didn't pay any money for a hotel room, okay? But I get handed my key. All right. Go to the hotel room. It's me and my boyfriend at the time, and won't got to share a room with nobody. All right, so we unloading, and I ask my friend, I'm like, hey, so where's that food that I gave you before we left the house? She was like, what food? I said, I gave you like 2 bags of food. Like they were in really big bags, and I handed it to you to put in the car. And she goes, I thought that was for me. I brung it home to my kids. What? So we made it there. I had provision, and she gave it to her kids. So she left it in North Carolina with her kids. All right. Dang, really? She's like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I handed it to you. I told you to put it in the car. She was like, yeah, but I thought you wanted me to bring it home to my kids. No. Right? All right. So that happens, and I'm feeling like really sad because I'm like, man, what are we going to eat and things like that. And so I try not to think nothing of it, not to make it a big deal because it's literally out of my control. There's nothing I can do. It's 23 hours away. Like, it's nothing we can do about it now. I'm like, okay. So, all right. So I think some people we were with, they had food, or they went to Trader Joe's or something, or Whole Foods, and they got food, and they cooked for us, so we were able to eat that night. And so the next day, we all get up and we get dressed, and it's the first day of the convention. And we all go to the convention center because we rode together. So we go to the convention center, right? And we're like in line, and everybody's like excited, like, yes. And I'm in line too, like, yes, right? And so everybody's going through, they scanning their tickets. And then it's my turn. Excuse me, miss, where's your ticket? I don't have one. All 7 of them people looked at me like I was crazy. You don't have a ticket? Nope. I cannot make this up. You can ask Daniel, okay? And so I'm like, I ain't got no ticket. And Daniel like, all right, Jazz, bet. Wait right here. Daniel gone for like 45 minutes. I don't know where Daniel went. I can't get past the gate because I ain't got no ticket. Don't know where he went. Don't know how it happened. But Daniel came back 45 minutes to an hour later. He scanned his phone and I had a ticket. I got into the convention. When we went out to eat, I ate. When we was out doing stuff, I was able to participate. I was able to partake in this whole entire convention with I had $0 to my name. And even like on a ride back, I didn't even have no gas money. I drove, like, I'm like, well, I don't have money, but I can drive because this is what I have to contribute. I didn't have anything else to contribute but my ability. So that's what I did. I tried to drive a lot, and I know I drove most of the way home. Like I did when we came back, I started to drive and I finished the drive. I did most of that drive. And when I was tired, I took a nap on the floor, and then I got back up and we went back to it. But that was by faith. Like when I didn't have any food and I'm like, all right, Lord, I had faith that he would provide even before I ever heard him speak to me. And so that whole ordeal, I think that was the catalyst of my belief in God, my faith in God, and my trust in God. Because it's like, you brought me to the other side of the country. I had $0 to my name. And I didn't have anything to contribute to this trip. I was able to go on, I think it was like a 4-day convention trip. I was able to eat out when they ate out. I was able to eat in my room. And the hotel didn't have continental breakfast. So we had to pay for food. Like, and every time that they ate, I ate. When after the convention, we went to whatever restaurant, when everybody was eating, I was eating too. But I didn't have any funds to contribute to that. But I was able to participate in that. If that don't strengthen your belief, I don't know what will. And so from there, I was just able to trust God moving forward. And even I think back to that story so much for where I am now. God has called me into entrepreneurship. He has called me into podcasting and speaking and doing all these things that I myself don't have the confidence that I can do it, right? But I have faith and I believe that it's going to all work out for my good. And it's working out. I'm learning so much about myself, and it's a blessing. It's really legitimately a blessing to take this journey. Sometimes it gets overwhelming, and sometimes I feel like, what did I get myself into? Or sometimes I doubt. I'm not gonna lie and pretend that I don't, but sometimes I do doubt. But I just have to trust that if he can allow me to go almost to the other side of the country and provide my every need and my every want, why doubt him here? Just because it doesn't look like what I think it should look like. And I always think back also to, like, I wanted to have my baby, level up in my business, and go to OKC. Those 3 things happened. Not how I envisioned them to happen, but they happened. You get what I'm saying? And so it's just like, I can't lack in faith, because what I believe comes to pass. And even when it doesn't, I just chalk it up to, well, maybe this just isn't meant to be, or maybe it wasn't my time. But it all happens. Like, when it's supposed to happen, I still cry. Like, I had a child that I never brought home. I gave birth to this baby that I never got to bring home. I never got to introduce him to my family. I never got to raise him. I don't know the type of person that he is. But in that bitter moment, I heard the voice of God. And nothing can take away from that. And I just trust this process so much, because when I was living my way, it's just, that's the best way to describe it. Is, it was okay. It wasn't what I wanted it to be, but it wasn't the worst that it could be. But I'll say walking by faith is better. It's better because I have a trust, I have a hope. I know things are going to work out. Even if it's not on my time frame, I know for certain that they're going to work out. When I was living in my own strength, when I was doing things in my own strength, I wasn't sure, you know? I didn't have a hope. I didn't have, well, I did. I'm lying. I've always had faith. Even when I wasn't walking with Christ, I've always had faith. It's just like, Lord, the lights, they sent the letter, the lights gonna get cut off. I'm praying that you make a way. And the way got made, so. But I remember one time though, this is before I got saved and before I had a kid. Oh my gosh. One time my lights was off for like, what is it? 33 days, 34 days. I think it was 33 days. Oh my goodness. And me and Cheyenne's dad, we had our own apartment and we had 2 dogs. Oh my gosh. Bruh. We would go to the apartment after work, feed the dogs, like feed them a lot of food because they would need food for the morning too, and they probably didn't eat. Feed the dogs and then walk all the way to my mother's house, which is like an hour or so walk every day. So we would walk 30 to 45 minutes from work to get to the apartment, sit there while it's still sunlight because there wasn't any lights, feed the dogs, hang out with the dogs, walk the dogs, take care of the dogs, feed them again before we left, and then walk back to my mother's house and get up in the morning, walk to work. Sometimes we had a ride, sometimes we walk to work, at the work. Sometimes you just have to do what you have to do, but that's just life. You have to do what you have to do. You have to do the best that you can with your given circumstance or situations. But I'll say now that I'm saved and I'm walking with Christ, I'll say now, even though I'm in like dire situations, it's not as stressful because I know God's gonna work it out. So even though it's hard, like walking by faith is hard, like trusting God is hard. It's not easy. I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, this is the best decision I ever made. I mean, it is the best decision I ever made, but there are some things that come with it. There are some things, some give and take things. There are some things that, even though I see it this way, it happens this way, or it happens that way. And I'm like, wait, what? But it's like, nevertheless, Lord, thy will be done. And I have to trust that. And so I hope this is empowering or uplifting to you. If you're going through a hard situation or a hard time, just trust God in the process. It's usually in our weakest moments when we've given all that we can give, when we've done all that we can do, that God shows up. I heard a lady say it's in our surrender that God gets glorified. You can say, I did everything in my own natural power, and then God stepped in and changed the trajectory of my situation, and that's how I live. Like, I can't give glory to people because I know it's God. And even like when people do for me, I thank God first, but I also thank them. And they're like, God just put it on my heart to do this or that for you. It was just on my heart to do this. Like, I just felt inclined to do this for you. And I know that's God. I know that's God placing me on the hearts and minds of people. And I'm thankful for that because I don't have to stress because he continues to get through. We went all the way to the other side of the country with no money. I can't speak for the other 6 people, right? I can only speak for me and Willie in the situation. I mean, he had a little bit of money. I think he had like $100. He had something. But outside of that, to the other side of the country for like a week, I mean, I don't know. And God provided every step of the way. Like everything that we needed, everything that we wanted, we were able to have. And I'm just so very thankful for it, you know? And I even think of like where I am right now in this in between place of not yet where I want to be, but not where I used to be, like in the middle in that transitional space. It's like I have to trust God more because He's brought me through so much. And I'm sure like if you sat back and you thought on your life and you thought about things and experiences that you have and the things that you've been through, you'll recognize that it was the hand of God that moved in those situations for you. You know, when you felt something told you not to, or something told you to do, those inclinations are from the Holy Spirit. That is God leading you and guiding you, you know, unless it's like, you know, beating somebody up, killing somebody. That was you. But when it's just like, you know, I wanted to go out to this place, but something told me not to go. And then something crazy happened. Or it was like, you know, you were going to the store and you felt like you should go to this store instead of your usual store. And you were blessed when you went there. Things like that, you know? And that's God leading you and guiding you. And I hope that you can reflect on your life and begin to see the hand of God moving in your life. And even when we go through hard situations, while we're in it, it is seemingly the worst place we could ever be in our entire life. But when we come out of it and we look back at it, it's the best thing that happened to us because we are able to learn and grow from those situations. I pray that this assists you. I hope that my story inspires you or gives you hope or helps you to have more faith and more belief and more trust. And I hope that you are able to walk forward confidently in the things that you're called to. I love you. I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you. You take the time to listen to me, like you hear me, you're understanding. And my prayer is that this does something good in your life. My hope is that this is a positive reflection or a positive addition to your life, something you can think back on and something you may be able to share with somebody else who's going through a hard time. That the hard times, even though they're frequent, they don't last. Like you won't be in that particular place forever. But when you come out of it, you'll be able to look back at it and you'll be able to grow from it and you'll be able to have like confidence in your journey and in your walk and in the things that you're being called to. But again, I love you. I appreciate you. This is the Life of Growth and Peace podcast. I am Coach Gazi. Some people call me Jazzy Jazz. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to reach out to me, you can reach me at lifeofpeace2020@gmail.com. You can listen to my podcast, Life of Growth and Peace. And I love you. I hope your day is amazing. I hope something wonderful happens for you today. Bye for now.